Did you know that I had a brother? He was kept in the back room in our house. He lived there in shadow and misery. When I asked my parents why David was there, they told me that everything was going to be okay. David was fine, and he would never hurt us. Why would he hurt us? Can a brother be a monster? Sometimes in the middle of the night, I would hear these odd noises coming from down the hall. I had heard that his face was misshapen, and his tongue couldn't work in coordination with other parts of his mouth and vocal cords to produce recognizable sounds or anything that could convey clarity and emotion. And then there would be silence for days. My parents raged over him. Whose family genetics caused this? Did you drink or do drugs during your pregnancy? I once heard my father say, "It can't be mine." He couldn't even say he, because my father couldn't bear the thought that he had locked his son up. On certain nights, he would unlock my brother's room to allow him to escape, and he did have a propensity for violence and some destruction, and he did kill some people. But to the little neighbor girl who was retarded, he was sweet. And to squirrels, of which he enjoyed and fed walnuts that my mother left on his food tray, he would always come back home, though, and I don't know why. It seemed the outside world was kinder than his family was. To my father's credit, as he ascended to puberty, he did bring women home for him, and they were terrified, but they left satisfied. Some were saddened by his story. There were times that my father brought others home, those he hoped to feed to his son, who had a cannibalistic nature. But to my knowledge, my brother did not feed on anyone, and those who were brought to him actually starved to death, wandering the labyrinthian hallway for days. I wonder if sometimes they heard him breathing in the dark. It was almost romantic. Coincidentally, my father was a prison architect and a quite successful one. He was able to create the experience of being in a maze, and my brother's room was at the center of it. I would wander down them and get lost, and my parents would find me again, but sometimes I did reach the back room and I would talk to my brother through the thickened door, but I was very scared. His breathing was so loud it was a snort. "You're my brother and I love you," I would tell him, "but I have never seen you. Can you show me?" My heart was pounding as I carefully reached into my pocket and took out the key to his room that I had stolen from my father and unlocked the door. The doorknob started to turn, the door creaked open, and standing naked before me was something. Something with the body of a man and the head of a bull. Simultaneously in awe and fear of him, he was a symbol of potent masculinity and sensitivity with eyes that I saw could cry, of sexual power and vulnerability. He reached out and took me in his arms and hugged me with the love of an older brother. And I fell into that hug. It felt so protective, so good. For that brief time, he did take the horror of the world away. "Minotaur," he whispered in my ear, and I heard him breathing, smelled his earthen smell. One night I heard my father's voice echo through the labyrinth, and then his footsteps, and as they got closer, I feared for my brother's life and mine. It happened so fast. My father's hands pushed me away. There was a loud rifle shot and finally a thump as my brother collapsed dead. With brain matter and blood on me, my legs shook. I couldn't move. My father left and returned with an axe. Was he crying? And as he lovingly chopped up all the limbs of my brother, I was instructed to carry them away to be buried until the final amputation, the head of which my father took away to this day I know not where. Was it my fault? Was my father protecting me, or had he wanted to kill his deformed son since birth? As a family, we never spoke of it. The labyrinth was remodeled. The years went by, and we started to forget, to doubt. He couldn't have been real. He was a dream. A hallucination, a nightmare conjured from a family's dysfunction. And as I got older, I came to understand the tragedy of my family more completely. Growing up, I first thought my father built a maze to imprison a monster, but it was really to conceal a deformed child, his child. At first, having enough conscience to keep from murdering his own flesh, he constructed a place to harbor it. But now I have come to believe that the labyrinth was a manifestation of my father's reprehension of shame. He couldn't reconcile the violent but also gentle and misunderstood creature that his son was. He couldn't reconcile his uniqueness, his difference, his ugliness. Over the years, the guilt and sorrow my father experienced took over his life, and he became a broken man, leaving my mother to mourn her husband and son alone. In my pretend version of my family's story, my parents see past the external horrors of their son and discover his heart, that he was a visionary who came to this world from somewhere sublime and afar. A deep love grows in them, and they introduce him to society, and he is honored and celebrated. But it was never to be. My father was too ashamed. We all were.